back to Chefs at Home with Mickey and Jeff.
I'm Mickey.
That's Mickey, and I'm Jeff. You've reached part 2 of our 2-part video, Salisbury steak. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, you should. Click the link on your screen or down below to take you there. It's a prompt that walks you through making the steaks. Part 2 will take you through the cooking, from searing the steaks to making the mushroom gravy, all in one pot. Hope you enjoy, and thanks for tuning in.
For 4 tablespoons of butter, we're going to use half of that and some reserved bacon grease that we have. This is also going to serve as the fat for the gravy when we get there. But first, we're going to sear off the patties. Let's do that. Yum. We're going to let that melt. Get nice and warm in there. So this is over medium heat, and we are in our beautiful enameled line cast iron Le Creuset skillet.
It's a broiling pan. I mean, excuse me, a braising pan.
A braising pan. Our beautiful enameled line cast iron Le Creuset braising pan. And you don't want to crowd things whenever they're searing. So I'm going to do 3 at a time so we have 2 nice even batches. We're going to let them go for about 5 minutes per side. You're looking for them to be brown, but we're not cooking through because they're going to wind up cooking in the gravy. We're just going to make it all nice and yummy in there. Now that they're in the pan, we're going to season the other side. A little bit of salt. Sorry, I'm going left-handed here, so this is not pretty. I'm a total righty. And then a little bit of pepper. Alrighty, so we've gone 5 minutes. We're going to flip them over to the other side. Beautiful.
Oh yeah, nicely browned, but not overly browned.
Come on. Alright, so 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Alright, so we're just shy of 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and pull them off.
Check the bottom and they were...
Yeah.
They look great. So.
They look nice and brown there. Scrape just a little bit here. Spice side down. Start my timer. We're going to salt and pepper the other side. Woo! Anything on that one? Now notice while these are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the butter that was called for, just so we don't get any actual burned bits on there.
Add fat as needed.
Add fat as needed. Transfer these to the plate. Let them rest. And this is a beautiful one-pot meal. I love those. The bottom end is straight. Look at all that goodness. Alright, so we're going to toss the onions that we have calls for 1 onion. We're doing 1.5 times, so I did 1.5 onions, thinly sliced. Or you do 1 really large onion. We're gonna let these cook until they're translucent. Or just about. Let me say, the recipe calls for an extra cheat sheet up here. I believe it's an extra teaspoon of bouillon powder. Since we're using the Better Than Bouillon paste, I'm not going to use that extra one, and I'm going to go ahead and salt my onions just a little bit. If you're using the bouillon powder, just skip this step because you don't want it to get too salty. The bouillon has plenty of salt. I'm going to go ahead and add our sliced mushrooms. I did about 12 ounces. It calls for 8, but again, we're multiplying the recipe. Sliced mushrooms.
Yeah, who doesn't? Yeah, I mean.
He doesn't love mushrooms.
Right.
Mix it all up.
Mushrooms are just pure umami.
Umami. Alright, I'm going to let it go for about a minute. Stir it. Another minute. We'll be back. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes. See how nicely this stuff is coming off the pan now? Give it one last little stir and we're going to start putting in the good stuff here. So we have 3 teaspoons dried thyme. Sprinkle it over. 1 teaspoon garlic powder and a ½ teaspoon onion powder.
I want my garlic powder way too.
Those are all dried. Now we have a 1/4 cup ketchup. Now I have ½ teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 1 teaspoon soy sauce, 2.5 teaspoons of Worcestershire. Worcestershire. Give it a good stir, a nice stir, as I like to say. Alright, now we have 4.5 tablespoons of flour. Alright, so 4.5 tablespoons of flour. We're going to do half of it first. We're going to do half of it and stir it around. And then we're going to pour the other half in. The reason you do that is so that it has a chance to bond to whatever it is you're pouring it on. So that whenever you add liquid to the pan, it doesn't clump up. Alright? So we want to get all of the white bits out. And this is what's going to make your gravy nice and thick and gravy-like. The other half, again, you want all of the white to go away so it's nice and coated on everything you're doing. That way you don't get clumps in your gravy. Now we have 6 cups of our Better Than Bouillon stock. Now I'm going to add this just a little bit at a time so that we have a chance to scrape the bottom as we're doing it. And it keeps it thick as you're doing it. I've found just through horrible trial and like a lot of error that if you have a nice roux going here, you've got your flour mixed, you did everything right, but then you just dump all your liquid in at once, you lose all of that work that you just did. So we're going to slowly drop in our stock.
Not entirely unlike making risotto.
It's a lot like making risotto. Risotto. Don't call the Ramsay out on me. It's risotto.
Risotto?
Risotto.
You just showed off her dirty ones.
Well, they weren't dirty when we started. But that's cooking.
You showed off her dirty metal ones, not our nice Taiwan.
Alright, so I'm going to let this come to a boil just a bit before I add the last 2 cups there. Okay, so our stock is in there. It's nice and thick still. I've turned it up just a little bit so we have a nice simmer, almost boil going, so that whenever we turn it down, it's a little bit easier. We're going to put the steaks back in, nestle them down. And this is going to simmer on the stove for about 20 minutes. I hope they all fit.
That's why we're using that big pan. Uno más. So we're going to cover that and let it simmer on the stove for about 20 minutes. Okay. Look at that. It smells so good in here right now. So the recipe calls for the pot to simmer for another 5 minutes or so to let the sauce thicken. In our experience, it takes a little bit longer than that to get a really thick sauce. At least as thick as we like to.
As thick as we like. So we're going
gets
to let
there,
it go for 5 minutes. Check it. We will probably go a little bit longer, but I'd let it simmer for another 5 minutes uncovered, just like the recipe says, and then adjust to your liking. Alright, so it's been 5 minutes. I took the meat out. We're going to let the sauce reduce just a little bit. It's almost there. And we reduced the amount of ketchup just a teensy little bit. So we're going to compensate and add a half tablespoon of cider vinegar.
It's just going to give it a greater depth. I mean,
A little kick.
so often the right thing is, oh, it needs a touch of vinegar.
That was like a saying in our kitchen. It's always been a saying in our kitchen. What does it need? It's either salt or vinegar. Always. Delay.
I'm going to let it reduce for just another couple of minutes, and
Yeah.
man, we're basically there, and it tastes
We're
great.
there.
But I think it's going to taste better with just a touch of vinegar, and you might think of that when you're going.
Taste it first.
Yeah.
Taste it first and decide. If it's missing like a certain something, which it may not be, if you follow the recipe to a T,
You might find it's just
you
perfect.
might find it's just perfect.
You might find that you want just a touch more acid, and you can get that from vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar.
That's what we used, yeah. So, hey, here it is. Salisbury steak, our version of DustinBunnies.com Salisbury steak. We paired it with our loaded
Cauliflower mash.
And our simple
Succotash.
Yeah, there it is. You should be able to find all 3 of these recipes, which make a great meal in and of themselves. Obviously, we think so, in our channel. So check that out. Leave a comment
Below.
right down below. And, check out DustinBunnies.com. These guys are awesome. We really like it. Don't blow off the parsley. The parsley adds a freshness to it. It's noted in their recipe, noted in ours.
Plus it's pretty.
Yeah, plus it's pretty. So, hey, we'll see you next time. And, thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. You can find recipes, links to equipment, and more in the description below and on our website at chefsathome.kitchen.